Hello beautiful, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bettina and I'm a makeup enthusiast. We are well and truly overdue for another anti-haul. My last anti-haul was back in April. I have missed May, I have missed June. It has been a busy time, so we have a lot of stuff to catch up on. There is a lot of new makeup shit to roast. So without further ado, let's get on into it because it's gonna be a long one. I hope you got a bevy ready. Let's get into it and let me scooch over. The first is from Madame Huda. So these are the Glow Obsessions Mini Face Palette. Now, these look pretty. I mean, the shadows, the highlighters look pretty. One, I don't need any more highlighters. It takes like a million years to get through a highlighter, and I have like other brands that I want to either like buy more of or try, and Huda is not on that list. But I feel like the image on the front of these palettes is what nightmares are made of. I just wish that Huda would stop putting her goddamn face on palettes. I just wish she would stop with putting her eyes on the palette or her face on the palette. Like, we get it. Your name is on the palette. We don't also need your face. We get that it's your brand. We don't need both. We don't need both. Just one is enough. Just your name is enough. We don't need your face on the palette as well. I'm definitely not buying these because that shit's scary and I don't want that in my makeup collection. Next we have the Violet Voss Vibes palette, Cool Vibes palette. So this is a very cool toned palette. It is all very like gray toned. I personally don't wear a lot of like gray toned eyeshadows. I don't really vibe with that. I prefer like a brown neutral. So right off the bat, half of this palette doesn't really suit me. I do like the Violet Voss formula. I have the Flamingo palette and I do like it. It's a nice formula, but I just can't get behind their like very clip art-esque Photoshop 2000s paint studio word art-esque type packaging. Then we have, what else do I not need? Oh, BH Cosmetics. It's coming through again with the Birthstone collection. So we might as well talk about both while I'm here. First of all is the Emerald palette, which was for May. So this is a very green toned palette, I guess you could say. We have a total of 2 greens in there. As always, we have a massive giant shimmer of whatever the color is for the month, being Emerald this time. There's a matte brown, I believe, and like a shimmery brown, and there's also a I was gonna say navy. It's definitely not a navy. It's like a matte deep grungy green. This color story, I think it's like probably, it might be second on the list of these so far that have come out. And they did also in this release come out with a brush set with a different colored handle for each month, which I do like. I like that idea, and it was fairly cheap actually. It was also only $28 US for 12 brushes, and I do believe you get a bag or something with it, maybe? No, maybe not. I retract that statement. But yes, this again, it just does not interest me, and the same beef as always. We have a 7-pan eyeshadow palette, and I just, no. Like, just put 8 shadows in there. Why does it have to be 7 pans? It just annoys me, annoys me to no end. Then we have the next month being Pearl for June. This palette is more a neutral color story. We have 2 like pearly shimmer colors, and then the rest of the palette is just neutral. So I do prefer this one. I like the greens in the green palette, but this one for like an everyday eyeshadow palette I think would be really good. It looks like every other neutral eyeshadow palette that I have at the moment, so I am not interested. Okay, Natasha Denona's Zendo palette. This is on the maybe list, the like maybe when it's on sale list, because when I compare the Zendo and the Circo Loco, oh my gosh, the Circo Loco, I wanted that so bad. I ended up buying it. I still haven't used it yet, but I got it on sale in the last Sephora sale. And the Zendo palette, like, it's super pretty, and oh my gosh, some of the marketing photos that they did with the release of this palette, stunning, and so much so it almost convinced me to buy the palette. But I decided to hold off just to wait basically for a sale, because I just didn't have that need to buy it urgently and get it like on the initial release. So I decided that I would add it to like my wish list and pick it up when it's on sale, and that way I can save myself some money. I didn't have that urgency to have it straight away, so it's on the wish list. Maybe one day I might pick it up, but there are some beautiful colors in there, like the teals, the shimmery blue colors. Oh, it is a pretty palette. Natasha Denona definitely did a good job on this one. Like I said, I haven't purchased it yet. It might be a while until I purchase it. I would definitely probably prefer to buy other eyeshadow palettes over this one at the moment. But if I did get it or have access to it on a good deal, maybe during Black Friday or something, if it's in the extra like special deals that Natasha Denona does over Black Friday, I might be tempted to pick it up because it is very pretty, and I have heard good things about it as well. Oh my gosh, the biggest fail of the year goes to this collection. This is the Urban Decay and Prince collection. Do not like this collection at all. I think it is one of the biggest fails I have seen from Urban Decay since the Game of Thrones collection. And that whole release of the Game of Thrones collection was an absolute shit show. I will say Urban Decay have done it a little bit better this time. You can get this stuff from Mecca already. I do believe it's still available. The eyeshadow palettes though, what an absolute disappointment. Like, so disappointing in such a big way. Such a letdown, such a fail. I really don't see Prince when I look at these, like, other than the actual like logo on the front and the fact that one of the palettes is purple. Like Winky Lux and their Galaxy Kitten palette, this is again another like grey toned eyeshadow palette. This is a massive yawn fest, and it has space cats all over the front. I just look at it and I just think that the cats on the front of the palette look very out of place. The Clueless and Hip Dot collection, oh my gosh, the palette in this collection has a furry front, like, you know, the furry pillows that people have? That is attached to the front of this palette, and I can just imagine that this is going to turn into a disgusting mess. Like, the eyeshadow dust is going to end up all like over the front of the palette, and it's going to end up as a dirty mess, and it's going to be so gross. So initially, like, I get why they've done it, but I just hate the idea of having a furry eyeshadow palette. It looks so tacky. And I just, the idea of that palette actually being used in like practice and like what it will look like and feel like after a while, it just gives me the heebie-jeebies. Just like, ugh. I can't imagine. I just cannot imagine. The Colourpop and Malibu Barbie collection. This was released to celebrate the 50 years of the iconic Malibu Barbie. I do think that Colourpop have done a good job of this collection, but for me personally, I was a Barbie girl growing up, but I don't have the that nostalgia pull when it comes to this makeup, and it doesn't really interest me. I do think that they've done a fairly good job kind of like matching the Malibu vibe and the Malibu logo in the collection. However, I have heard that this collection is the worst formula ever, so I am not going to touch it with a 10-foot pole. Cruella de Vil or Cruella MAC collection. So all of the packaging in this collection is split with the black and white, which obviously is iconic for Cruella. However, the eyeshadow palettes come as a set or come as one. However, you can split it off to be like duos, which I kind of understand, but at the same time, the colors that they've paired together, in my opinion, don't work. They don't work together, and I think it's a really stupid idea. We have split brushes as well. They like split down the middle with white and black. Then we have like lipsticks lip glosses, like they're pretty fine. However, the eyeshadow palettes, oh my gosh, what an absolute fail. Ciate and Edna Mode collection. So this is a eyeshadow palette. We have it's a face and cheek palette. And a soft matte lip powder and gel liners. So I really like the packaging on the gel liners. I'll give them that. I think they've done a cool job there. It's kind of like this colored perspex type packaging. However, this palette, oh my gosh, this is so stupid. So the palette has like kind of this spinning dial in the middle, and each quadrant of the palette has a piece of the board that lifts off. I think this is one of the stupidest packaging ideas I've ever seen. And the eyeshadows in there are so boring, and the blushes look almost identical to each other. I am intrigued about the lip powder formula. However, I feel like it might be super drying on your lips. Just the idea of putting a powder on my lips as a lip product, it just doesn't make sense to me. I have a feeling that they would be really, really bad. However, I am intrigued to swatch them, and I think if they ever come to Mecca, I would definitely be down to like giving them an old swatcheroo just to see what it feels like. Glamlite Red Velvet Cupcake palette. I will give them kudos for having a normal shaped eyeshadow palette. This is just like a small rectangle eyeshadow palette. It is 12 pans. They look really pretty and they swatch nicely, but just not really my style. I'm not a massive lover of like really pink eyeshadows and reddy tones. I just feel like it brings out the redness in my skin already. So not really for me. I wish that there was like more kind of true reds in there. They're more like pink based. Morphe 18H Sweet on Hue Artistry palette. So this is a 18 pan eyeshadow palette. It is cardboard packaging. I'll give them props for that. The swatches of this palette look really, really pretty. However, they look either one of two things. They look photoshopped or they look like they've been swatched wet. So I do not trust the Morphe swatches at all. Every time I look at the swatches, I'm very, very skeptical of what I'm seeing because they just look like they might be swatched either wet or they're like Photoshop swatches. And I don't support Morphe, so I won't be buying this at all. Next up we have Glowish. So Glowish is a sister brand to Huda Beauty. It's supposed to be like radiant type products. So these are multitasking makeup products, vegan, never tested on animals, sustainable packaging and ingredients. Cartons are 100% recyclable. Cardboard generally is recyclable. So as long as the product comes in cardboard, generally it's recyclable. I wish that Huda took the 100% recyclable packaging from this sister brand and used it in her own brand, because she is notorious for putting plastic cartons around her products that you literally just throw in the bin, and it's such a waste, and it's like not recyclable, just go straight into landfill. It's such a waste. Like just put a goddamn cardboard wrap around your products. There's no need for plastic. 90% naturally derived, skin loving ingredients, blah blah blah. So we have 13 super stretchable shades in the skin tint. That's a way of them kind of covering themselves for not having like diverse shade range. I will say the shades do cover a fairly extensive shade range, but it doesn't go all that deep in my opinion. It stops very short for the deep skin tones in my opinion. It's supposed to be waterproof and transfer proof, fragrance free. It's supposed to also be packed with ingredients like ugly red pepper extract. I still don't know what ugly red pepper is. I'm assuming it's like capsicum or something. And to me, I'm almost certain that if your skincare products have capsicum in it, that it's going to be an irritant to your skin rather than something that's going to be benefiting your skin. To me, something from like the capsicum or the pepper family is not going to be serving your skin well. That's just the way my brain thinks. I don't know if that's actually true. Let me know down in the comments box if you know. The Soft Radiance Bronzing Powders, they come in 5 shades, last up to 12 hours, buildable, giving a blurring effect. And they come with like this marbled effect on the pan. The packaging on the bronzers especially to me look really, really cheap. I wish that rather than it was just the circle around the bronzer was the open flap, that it was like the whole square. I think having it just as a circle looks really, really cheap, and it looks like it would break really easily. I've heard very mixed things about the bronzer. Some people say it's super patchy. Some people say it fades really quickly and doesn't last at all. And others say that it's a really nice bronzer. So I would proceed with caution if you are looking at testing this one out. Australis and Barbie collection. This looks like trash. I'm sorry, Australis. I like some of your products, but this looks like absolute garbage and it should stay in the bin. It shouldn't have even come out of the factory. First of all is the palette. The palette looks like it will be really, really bad and super chalky. Natasha Denona Puff Paint Blushes. I almost brought these when they launched because they were available at Sephora Australia basically before everyone else in the world got them, which was fantastic to see. However, these three that they've released, so they've released Tan, Dahlia, and Bloom. These are already existing colors in Natasha Denona blush palettes in cream formulas. I don't quite understand why she has released the same colors as something that she's already got in her collection, just in a different formula. I feel like if you are a lover of the ones that she's already got, you would be sticking to that. And cream products take a very long time to get through. So I'm a little bit unsure as to why she has just released the same colors but in a different formula. It doesn't really make sense to me. And as I said, I did almost buy some of these, but I resisted. I resisted the urge because I thought that I would probably not use them a lot. I'd probably be spending money and not use them all that much. Morphe too have revealed that they are launching some quads that come in like these little stacks, very, very, very similar to the Kaja bento boxes. These are not exact dupes because the Morphe ones say that they're like a multitasking palette in a stack. Essentially, you have like an eye product, a cheek product, a lip product, and then something to add like extra sparkle if you want to ramp it up a little bit, all in the one little like snapshot pot. It is what it is. It's kind of cool, but at the same time, the like sparkle, for example, it just looks like almost like set Vaseline with glitter just mixed through it. Next we have the Florence by Mills UBU collection. So we have an eyeshadow palette here, which is called the UBU eyeshadow palette, and then we also have the What's My Line eyeliners. So I think the liners are really cool. I think they come in nice colors. I do like the packaging on them. They remind me a little bit of like the pencils that you used in primary school with the like the dint, or you used the like pencil grips. Reminds me a little bit of that for some reason. However, the eyeshadow palette, there's so much wasted space in the eyeshadow palette, and the eyeshadow palette, you know, it's supposed to be kind of uplifting and empowering and all that, but I just think it looks really, really cheap, and I don't love the colors in it. They seem to swatch nicely, but once again, they look like they are swatched wet and photoshopped. Luna Beauty have revealed that they are updating their version of the Life's a Drag palette. So this is the Life's a Drag facelift palette. This is going to be a 21 pan eyeshadow palette. So this is an upgrade of the original palette. So there are 14 colors from the original palette, which was what it was, and 7 new shades. So if you already have the original palette, I don't think there's any need to get this one as well. And I feel like it's a little bit of a lost opportunity there, because I just think that he should have come out with something completely new instead of taking something that he's already got in his collection and revamping it. I think it's a cool concept as a whole, like looking at it individually, but when you look at the fact that 14 of the shadows came from the original palette, I don't look at it as good. The newest eyeshadow palette from KVD Beauty, this is called the Fanatic palette. It's inspired by the beauty of the planet. Think of sand dunes in the desert, glaciers, canyons, orange sunsets, an emerald sea, and landscapes as far as the eye can see. I look at this and I yawn. I look at this and I do not see the planet. I see boring. I think that this, maybe you could say, is more inspired by sand dunes than anything else, and the rest is history. There's a few other ones thrown in there. When I look at this palette, it does not look like it's from KVD. The packaging looks so cheap and nasty. It looks like it's one of those plastic sample packs, like the little plastic clams that things come in. It looks like it's that. It looks so cheap and nasty. The eyeshadows don't swatch the greatest. The color story, it looks very bland and boring. And the planet is definitely not bland and boring. There's some amazing places in the planet, and this is definitely not displaying that at all. Next, we're talking about the Norvina Eyeshadow Palette Volume 5. This is a very purple toned eyeshadow palette. Now, I will say, out of all the Norvina palettes that have come out, this is probably one of my preferred eyeshadow palettes. I just still can't get behind these palettes because they are so big. I mean, if I could get this on sale, I might consider it, but as it stands, I'm really not interested in trying any of these palettes out. There's other brands that I would much rather support at the moment over these ones that come out, but it does look very pretty and the swatches look really, really beautiful. I was very, very tempted by this palette because I'm a massive lover of purple eyeshadows, so it was very difficult for me to say no to this palette. Jaclyn Hill Cosmetics have released the Bougie Rouge collection. This is a blush collection basically. So we have blush sticks in a cream formula. There are 2 blush palettes, and then we also have some loose powder blushes. I'm not really interested in any of this. I have enough blush to last me a lifetime. So when I am bringing blushes into my collection, it has to be something pretty spectacular for me to consider bringing it into my collection. And this just doesn't really interest me. I'm still waiting for something that she comes out with to really like grab my attention, draw my eye, and like make me desperate to try. And she hasn't really struck that chord just yet. There's definitely been things that I've like side-eyed and been like, maybe this is the time that I try her brand, but nothing has ever really like been released and I've just been desperate to buy it. Brunette Palette from Melt. Now, initially when I first saw the photo of this, I was like, actually that looks like quite a nice neutral eyeshadow palette. But then I see the swatches and I get really, really disappointed because it is quite a light neutral palette. There's not really any depth to the neutrals, and I find that really disappointing because I like having that option of having like those really deep browns in there to create more depth in my looks if I want it. I like having a varying range of depths when it comes to my neutrals, and in my opinion it just doesn't have the range that I would have liked. Next is the Glamlite. I shouldn't be so happy when I mention this, but I'm happy about the collaboration. I think it is a really cool like opportunity. But next is the Glamlite and Michaela J makeup collaboration. This is the eyeshadow palette that she came out with Glamlite. I was tossing up for a while about whether I would buy this palette or not. When I look at this eyeshadow palette, there's just something about it, and I still cannot put my finger on what it is, but there is just something about this color story that doesn't make me want to buy it. It just doesn't draw me in, doesn't attract me as much as some of the other palettes that I've seen lately have. I think it might be the fact that they all kind of seem to be one level of saturation, if that makes sense. They're not really varying a lot in depths and intensities, like variations in color. There's a lot of colors in there that double up a little bit, especially when it comes to those 2 neutral rows at the top. When it comes to the actual colored rows, the 3 at the bottom, there does seem to be some variances in color, but overall I look at it and I'm just like, it's pretty, but I don't really need it in my collection. But I have heard good things about the formula. Everyone has been saying good things. New neon collection from Colourpop. Now they say that this is a neon collection, but in my opinion, it's a neutral collection with a pop of neon. Each of these three 5-pan palettes are neutral palettes. Each one has a different pop of neon in it. The packaging is plastic. I don't love that about it. I wish that Colourpop would go back to cardboard packaging. That way it's just a little bit more eco-friendly. The neutrals in each of the palette, to me, half of them look identical in each of the palettes. So you're going to be getting double ups. In my opinion, not much variation between the mattes if you do get these eyeshadow palettes. Next up is another collaboration. This is the Be Perfect and the Vivian eyeshadow palette. Vivian is a drag queen. She was the winner of the first season of RuPaul's Drag Race UK. I personally have not watched that version of RuPaul's. I've only watched Australia and America so far. But I am keen to like venture out. I need to venture out. It's on my list of things to do and watch, but I just haven't got there yet. Anyway, this eyeshadow palette, I look at this and I'm like, this is a nice eyeshadow palette, but it's just not for me. I think it's a well done eyeshadow palette, but it's not for me. When I look at the way that it's laid out, from taking it from like the big pans there across with all the eyeshadows, I think that side of things is very well done. When it comes to the larger pans, I understand the practicality of this, especially from a drag queen point of view. But for me personally, I don't do a lot of like drag makeup. So I don't see the need for me to have a massive pan of black and a massive pan of white like there is in there. And I do also have an issue with having the black right next door to the white, especially if it is the usual Be Perfect formula. Sometimes their formula can be quite powdery. Like it's a really good formula and I love it, but sometimes the formula can be quite powdery. So you're gonna find that black like trickling across into the white and tainting your white, and you're gonna end up with a gray as opposed to a beautiful like crisp white. I think that it would have been a good idea if maybe she put the black like at the bottom and shuffled the highlight and the blush up. It would have made it look a little bit more just disjointed, but it would have saved the white from that black. I like the colors in the palette. There are a few colors in there that I'm kind of like, I would have liked to see that swapped out for a different color. But on the whole, I think it's really beautiful. I absolutely love the marketing photos. I think she looks stunning, and the eye look that she's done while she's holding the palette is gorgeous. I will say Be Perfect formula is a really nice formula to work with. Really, really well pigmented, nice blendability to them. But this palette's just not for me. If you're a drag queen, or if you are somebody that loves using a lot of white and black in your eyeshadows, I think it would be a perfect one for you. Another controversial palettes that I'm not getting, and this is the Sydney Grace and Temptalia collection. So this collection came out with essentially 6 eyeshadow palettes. So she did a set of 3 eyeshadow palettes, and then they took it further and did 2 different versions of the set. So they did a lighter version and they also did a deeper version. I was tossing up whether I was going to buy this or not, and in the end I decided that I would pass and I would put my money elsewhere. So I didn't end up buying this, and I think it's a bit of a controversial opinion. I got to the point where I was so sick of seeing the sneak peeks for this collection that by the time it came out, my expectations were not met. Like that whole expectation versus reality was very real for me when I saw the release of these palettes and the final color story of these palettes. So I know that this sold really well. Some of the colors and the palettes sold out super quickly, which is so cool because I think Temptalia works her ass off, and Sydney Grace also do as well. So definitely well deserved the fact that they sold out. Next is going to be a big long rant. We have a new brand from Makeup Revolution, and this is called Planet Revolution. Now this is like one of the biggest greenwashing marketing scams that I've seen in a while, and I don't think that you guys should support it at all. If anything, I think that you should be giving them hell on their Instagrams, because I think that this is an absolute joke. They said they've gone on an 18-month-long journey to deliver a clean, conscious brand that brings those learnings into all aspects of their business for a more sustainable and responsible future. It says that their products are multi-use, they're recycled, they are clean. What else does it say? There's so much shit that this brand talks about. Recycled materials. It's just a massive load of BS. And I feel like that Makeup Revolution is probably one of the worst brands that could possibly even try and consider marketing their brand as a planet-friendly brand, because they are one of like the biggest contributors to like fast makeup and waste when it comes to makeup, because they're constantly pumping stuff out from all of their sister brands like on a daily basis, because they have so many brands under the Makeup Revolution umbrella. Do not support this brand. Do not support this brand. Your products that you already have in your collection are multi-use. I'm sure if you were that way inclined, most of the makeup or all of the makeup in your collection already is cruelty-free and also vegan. If you are that way inclined, you don't need to be supporting this brand or buying any of this. It's just a gimmick. It's a marketing scam, and don't fall for it. The Bratz collection, no, not interested at all. I'm predicting though that it probably will sell fairly well, and I'm predicting that there will be more collections between Makeup Revolution and Bratz. Ooh, the Laura Lee Los Angeles Candy Skies collection. Okay, I put this in my cart, an abandoned cart, about 4 or 5 times because I really like this color story and I wanted to try the Laura Lee Los Angeles formula. However, the shipping was kind of up there in price, and I decided like a couple of days prior to this being released that I was going to buy the Glamlight Ice Cream palette, because I have had my eye on it for quite a while. And when I looked at the swatches of that palette and the swatches of this palette and compared them, the colors that were jumping out at me in the Candy Skies palette were colors that were already in the Glamlight palette. So I decided not to pick this one up, and I saved myself some money. Dose of Colors Donald Duck and Daisy Duck collection. The palette looks really nice. However, I don't really see Donald Duck and Daisy Duck when I look at the palette. Briefly touched on all of the stuff that really did not interest me over the last 2 months. Let me know down in the comments box if there's anything that's been released recently that you really are not interested in. Let me know down in the comments there. While you're down there, make sure you like this video. You can also subscribe to my channel for future anti-hauls. You can join my membership for extra perks and applaud this video if you like. That's it for this video, beautiful. I hope that you're having an absolutely fantastic day. I hope that you are staying safe and healthy and looking after yourself. And I will see you in the next video. Goodbye, beautiful.